So as I get ready to DIY this, I need to get some fabric out, and I'm thinking I might fill this in and then do up some patches with it, but I'll make sure that the patches are a totally different color. Like the back might be, I don't know if the back should be like this blue, and then the patches can be a lighter, but the blue might be nice in the front, because then maybe this one in the back and this one in the front, because I want them to be very, very, very different. I could use some flowers, because I do have some flowery ones. So we just need to open this bad boy up and get it nice and situated so we can, because I think these are going to be big enough that I probably could do a patch, because typically a lot of this fabric is patched like really tiny, so it usually means it's not going to be very usable, if you know what I mean. I don't know if you know what I mean, but I'm just going to cut it. I'm not cutting the fabric, I'm just cutting that to make it easier for myself, because I think these are, let's just see how this is. Yeah, this is like, yes, it's like a piece of fabric. It's not in squares, like it is in squares, but it's folded in squares at least. This is one piece of fabric. Ooh, there's this one. I think I will not do this one, because that one I will not do. Well, this one I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that one. So, at least not for myself. So, this could be the back or the front, because if I do this one on the back, I can then mix in some flower ones that I have. But I can't go too crazy because there's not a lot of space on here, as this is where the patch goes. So there's going to be enough space for like 1 or 2 small patches. But this one, I need to make sure that there's enough for the back of my thing. So that's what we need to map out now. So there it is, mapped. I had a feeling that this fabric was going to be big enough, because all the other square fabric I've been getting was not big like this. But what's nice about this one is it has enough for squares, but then you can use it like this because it's all together one layer. Granted, there's folds here, but I think that will be fine. So all we got to do is I've kind of moved it like this, so there's enough, and I'm going to make sure there's enough over here where I'm going to cut. Like, I'm going to cut about right there. I'm not going to cut the actual thing. So I just need my handy dandy scissors. These are my, I forget, I can't pronounce the name, but these are my really, really nice scissors that I use for sewing purposes and cutting fabric. So what we need to do is we need to cut to about there, so I have enough space to do the folds of sewing in the edges, because you definitely need to make sure there's enough for all the way around. So let's cut this out and get that. So there is the piece of fabric. It's pretty much enough on each side. See? Because I'm doing it about here. It's okay if it goes up a little bit, really and truly, and stuff. And then there's enough down here. And as you saw, I used the fold that was in it. And I can probably use this if I want to for a slight like patch in the front, mixed with some flower print. So I don't know if I'm going to be using any other print from this one, because I do have some full-on flower ones that I could potentially mix into the mix. And this is a good amount of fabric to make a patch or two, because then I can bring this to the front of it. So that's the back, nice and done. This just needs sewn. I could do one big square on one side and do like I did in the last vest, but I would like to maybe put 2. At least I could put 1 on one side, but this might be better if I mix it with the flower, because then it's like not too much of the same. But who says you can't have too much of the same? So I could do this, and then a smaller one on the other side mixed with the flower. So I might do one full one to cover up this area, not the whole area, but like in the middle of it, nice square size. And then 2 smaller ones for the other side, so it's like asymmetrical, because sometimes I'll do 1 and 2. So let's get my other ones out that are smaller, that I can potentially get just some flowers out of. Because like I said, I have these. This one I'm not going to use. I don't know when I'm going to use that one, but it's definitely not going to be used in a project for myself, but I will use it at some point. I got these, and this is the vibes here. So all I'm saying is that this one looks really, really good. I just want to make sure the blue, but then there's all the blue in the thing, so it doesn't fully matter. So I could just do these two. Like I said, I could make multiple out of this here. And this is about how the size of this one is. So we'll just see what makes sense. This can go either way almost. So these are made of the same kind of thing. They feel like a thin canvas, I would say, probably. I think there's a little damage in that one on one side, but that's okay. So yeah, I think I'm going to use this mixed with this because it brings out the pink here and stuff like that. So we got all the cuts we need. We just need to sew off the edges. So this is going to become smaller. So I need to gauge what the size of this will be before making the size of this, I think. But let's just cut one of these first, because I want to make sure I have one that will fit in here. What I could do, as you can see, there's a line right here. But then I could potentially cut, this one could be for the smaller side, and then this one could be for this, because I'm going to be sewing all the edges once at least. So there's a fold already in this. We're going to cut right at the fold just because it makes sense to, and I don't need a precise size anyway, so we're just cutting. I'm being careful to float away from the thing. I don't have a proper place to fully cut yet, so I'm just having to like make sure I don't cut what I'm actually using to put this on too. So there we go. That's probably plenty for this side because it's like skinnier than this one. So these are the two pieces of fabric I'm going to use for one side together, I'd say. And then this one's going to be all on one side. I'm just thinking it would be nice to kind of do it all together. So there is that. I will be mix and matching some of these. I could mix and match and get a different one because I don't have another one. But then I really like this print and it really goes with the whole vibe I'm going for. So on a different one, I'll maybe do some mix and matching. But for this one, I'm doing it more of, because I have the gray one and I have the black jacket. I already have the one with the gray tones, like darker colors in a vest at the moment, even though it was a blue vest as well. This is a two-toned vest. These go really well, I think. So I think this is the colors I'm going to go for. So that for over there. And then this for like over here or whatever makes sense. It doesn't really matter what side I put these on, but because there's two of these sections on both sides. So let's get these bad boys all sewn up on these nice edges. Do it once on each end. So this should be plenty of fabric, and it doesn't really matter the size it gets fully. I just don't want it to be bigger than the area or overlaps on here, and we don't want that or overlaps on the sleeve. I'm ready to get on to here. As I finally start to use the sewing machine, so all the edges are nice and fold it in, just folding it with my fingers, holding it nicely and everything, and making sure that it won't get snagged in the sewing machine. So checking it out, and there we go, slow but surely. And then when I figure it works, I go faster and faster. Yep, I do gotta fold it to make sure that it holds that edge in so I can get to the next side of my square. Yep, let's get there and get that nice square of the first ones. Good EOCO. From that, cutting off a slight snag of the fabric so I don't have something that will be pulled onto before I sew some more. And there we go. First square, nice and done of all the edges. And yep, I have to reapply the thread into the needle. What joy when it comes out and you just got to do it. So that's what I'm doing here, getting ready for the next square. Good and ready. And yes, something looked to be nagging, so I had to get off the sewing machine before going back. So I'm just cutting all the little threads off as best I can, and that. Now I'm putting it back in the sewing machine, ready to do. Now there we go. All my patches are nice and sewn, so I can now sew them on the vest and everything. Even the big one, nice big one for the back. I think this is going to look very, very, very nice. Because I don't have a nice girly, fun, one. I almost considered adding the blue little flower square, but I don't know if I'm gonna have space, so I might add it at the end. But now everything, the knitting, all of this is all nice and sewn. All I gotta do is add these on now. I think I'll add these on first, just because it uses the sewing machine, and then I'll be doing the knitting, the knitting stuff by hand sewing, because it's like maybe too thick to put in here. I don't think it will work. I could try, but it is pretty thick yarn, so there we go. And hopefully this fits the area for the most part. And let's sew these things on and make it look so nice. Can't wait. So I'm going to start with the big one. And what I got to do with the big one, at least especially, is I got to pin this on to the vest itself for the most part to a point. Because if I don't, it probably will move too much. So here we go. Pinning it on. Here with my little wheel of the pins of it all. Yes, I need to at least pin these little areas of the corners and such, because it will definitely move way too much. Yep, did that. Now I'm just making sure that I have it where I want it. And finally I do. So now the bad boy of the sewing machine is used. So this is permanently put on to the vest. And of course, you gotta take those pins out. Ooh, yes, time to undo and have my first nice patch all done. Nice. Voila, there is the patch completely put on. Was a little finicky sometimes, it can be, but it looks really, really good. So all we're going to do is add the ones in the front now. I do, making sure this patch is not overlaying on the sides that I don't want. So of course I need to pin these as well. So I'm pinning the middle and the bottom and the top kind of areas, because that just, so it's nicely doesn't do it. And now we sew them on. One of the front patches is officially on. Now I just cut off those threads so it's not attached to the machine. Now all of my patches on my vest are nice and put on. I got to say, they look so cool. But do say so myself. Oh my gosh. I really do love my Peter Rabbit of it all. I am glad I put a little bit of something else like that, but a fair amount of Peter Rabbit I have done. Now we gotta add the knitting here, and I'm going to need another one of these because I'm doing 3, 1 in the middle and 2 on each side. Just because there was only a small amount of this darker pink, so I'm going to do that and then balance it out with 2 of these. So let's now have a nice chill time and get these sewn on. And like I said, they're going to be done by hand. I'm just so glad my sewing machine decided to cooperate with me today and do this in a nice, fast, timely manner. Because you know, if you know and you sew, it can be annoying sometimes when you got to use your sewing machine and it keeps nagging sometimes. I think a lot of it was I knew how to use it and there's not too thick, because the sewing machine can't handle too thick. But yeah, all in all, it looks really good. And I could finish it here, but you know me, I need that knitting put on. So that's going to take a little bit, but let's get that sorted and on at the bottom like I do all my denim projects, especially to do with clothes. So, first part done, second to last part to do. Well, here we go. I fuel myself up with a nice Red Bull, always my go-to energy drink, as it's the best one here in the UK for being mass-produced one, because there's no sweetener in it. Nope, If there is, it's very, very tiny. Nope. Then that's why I like it. And then I thought, I haven't had one of these in a while. A nice Snickers. That's why snicker it up. So this is what I am now fueling myself with, ending the week as I get this knitting added on to my thing. So I got my handy dandy thread here that I hope is not going to get knotted. Come on, don't get knotted. Cool. And then I just got to get into my needle here. I have a special needle. Well, maybe not special, but I have one I use the most because I just found it has the best size hole. Some of my knitting needles seem to have an even smaller hole, which I don't understand how you can get any smaller because it just bounces off. So come on. Go in. There we go. Nice. And there, I'm just leaving it in the little ball of it. I'm not sure why we've always decided that this is the go-to pincushion look, which is a tomato. Tomato, right? So yeah, I'm just getting it tied off at the end, doing my little technique that I'm getting better and better at it as time goes on. Because sometimes it's more loopy than others, but what I like to do, if you don't know the technique, which I learned from someone a long time ago, is you take your thread, like I'm doing, wrap it a couple times around your finger so you have enough, and then you roll it into itself so it's more likely to go to the end of it. And see, and then I go like this. Let's see if this is a good one. That's pretty good. It sometimes will be like this. And then I just tighten it and do what I need to do. See what makes sense. There we go. Sometimes I can get it more in a ball. I've seen people when they do it even better than me, but this is just the technique I've done, and this is how it's come out for me. So now oops. Why did that get caught? Okay, got that out. So there's my thread, nice and long. We just hope it won't get caught. So one thing that I like to do, just so you know while I'm doing this, if I'm sewing something on by hand and I don't want this to maybe get nagged or anything, what I will do is I'll actually go on the outside of this. Just thought I should show you this before I start getting into fully knitting it. As I get into it, see, I go like this, and I'm without the sewing yet of the other item. I go in. I put it underneath because this is going on top, so it will hide it. Just like I'm going to go like this with the edges, and it will hide it inside, so it's like they don't exist. So that's what I'm doing, see? So I'm just going to deal with that. And of course, I'm going to tie it off like I always do. You always want to tie it off, of course, because at least once or twice, so you don't have it undo, which just makes sense. So there we go. And it kind of flattened a little bit. But there we go. And now I'm going to take this. Make sure that this is inside to take over inside of the thing. And then I'm going to go like so. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to take this, go into it. And of course, you want to make small sewing. If you didn't know that, don't go too big to try to get it done faster, because then it's going to be too loose and it will snag and undo. You want very tight knitting little loops as you go in. You want to be pretty close to what the last thing you just sewn, so you don't so it's nice and tight and it won't undo for you. So it's all there, and then I just gotta push all this in so it's underneath, not outside of it, as I'm sewing. But first I'm going to sew this edge. I want to sew the edge first, so I don't have this opening here, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm going as close as possible. Well, you don't have to go close as possible, just don't do really, really wide, unless you're doing it for a reason, like you want to, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But all I'm saying is that for this, so I make sure that my hand sewing does not undo itself, or are more likely to not undo itself, so it's nice and, you know, things do happen with sewing, so you can't always stop it from happening. And with this, if for some reason your sewing that you've done if you're doing something like this is slightly not wide enough for you for any reason, at any point, you can stretch it just a little bit because it is knitting and it does stretch. So there is that to put in mind. And if you feel like it's not enough sewing in the spot you've done so far, you can always go back on yourself a little bit and put a little extra onto it. So I'm just doing my sewing. So yeah, there we go. I'm starting to put it on. So now I'm just going to go along the end, making sure that these don't stick out while I'm sewing, so they are inside, like they're invisible. And we'll get this nicely on and get the other 2 pieces on as well. So there's the start of it. And of course, with that thing you see there, is going to hide underneath all of this knitting, keeping it protected so it doesn't get snagged. And this is me making sure the edge is nice and sewn and everything. Yep. So it's nice and snug against it. Being slowly but surely with all that thread. With that all nicely through and everything. And nothing has gone wrong. I'm just going slowly but surely. As you see, it's getting more and more secure. Making sure it's right there at the edge like I like it as I go back and forth. Making sure there's no snags in the thread of itself, so it's not like knotting or anything, because that can be annoying for sure. Yep, just keep going back and forth, back and forth. Getting very close to this end of all this yarn. Yep, all this yarn. This side is very close to getting nice and done. Looking very nice. Wow, wow, wow. Looking good. The more and more I sew it on. Nice and secure. With all the nice secureness, as my thread was getting too small, it's time to tie off and cut it and get a new piece. So as you can see, I'm tying it a couple times underneath where the yarn is because it will just cover it up, so there's no ways of it getting snagged where I tied it off, to then add some more thread. Yes, granted, I can never make my thread long enough, so this is what I got to do when it's time to tie off. As I now rip open and devour some of my snacky snack along the way. Yep. Now, we devour some Red Bull. Now getting back to the sewing, as I have added some more thread, tied it in and everything. So we're getting this other side nice and secure, because I don't want to fold it downward to do it that way. I want it fully on the edge, as you can see. So I'm sewing down that side as well. As I get very, very close to getting this nice and done, still got a section to do. Granted, this is a little long because this is thicker, but still looking good. So let's get the rest of this sewing done. I'm sure ready for it. So I can have the last piece on and really enjoy this vest to the max. To the max of sewing on the last piece of yarn here. Yes, EOCO. To now tying off the last piece of that yarn. Woo woo, woo woo. And of course, I'm doing a couple little ties. But this time it's got to be underneath. And bang! This DIY of a vest is officially done. I don't know about you, but I am very, very happy with it. With all the pink to the Peter Rabbit of it all, with the same print in the front and the back. You can always let me know what you think. But I do like this thicker yarn, but I'm definitely going to go back to some smaller yarn as well, as this can get kind of crazed as well. But because I only had a little bit of that darker pink, it kind of made me do this look, which was kind of nice. So yeah, you can let me know if it's kind of nice with the 2 different pinks, 2 different colors like that, or maybe it might be better with full on. I'll probably do most of them with the same colors, fully on the bottom and everything. But there it is with this one, my first girly vest, I would call it, because of the pink and the rabbits and everything. So with all that in mind and feeling awesome, loving wearing these vests, really getting into these vests that have more to them. They're not just denim that have like patches on them. I see them sometimes on Vinted to buy, and I'm like, I want that. I need that in my life. So I thought, I'm going to DIY some for myself. And as this one I happened to get from my husband, and I said it needs something because of an H&M one. It was missing some oomph, especially this one. So I said, I'm going to do it. And I happened to get some good priced fabric that was £3 from the works that had Peter Rabbit on it. And I was like, I like Peter Rabbit. So this is what came of it. So with all that and that awesomeness, if I say so, till next time, bamity, bam. And don't forget to hit that subscribe as more is to come.